and now he covers the NFL for The Ringer. He's very good on social media. I really like this guy. His name is Kevin Clark. We've had him on before. Let's bring him on again. I love him. He does something. I do my Blazing 5 picks, and I take myself too seriously. You have your, what do you call your picks?
Worst picks.
Of the week.
Yes.
And they're surprisingly the same as my Blazing 5. We both get about 58%.
That's gambling.
That's exactly, it's gambling. So before I get to the games, a couple of things I want to talk about. Now, we go into this weekend, and if I said to you, who's the mobile quarterback, everybody would say Lamar Jackson. You have an interesting story on The Ringer about Deshaun Watson, and I said this when he came out. I said Nick Saban faced Johnny Manziel a couple times, but it was in the regular season. Nick had 6 weeks twice to prepare for Deshaun Watson and could never stop him. You have an interesting story on Deshaun Watson and how hard he is to beat, and if you do, you barely do.
He has not lost a game by more than 1 touchdown since high school. 2013, September of 2013, he lost to Buford High School. After that, he has not lost by more than one touchdown since. The Patriots couldn't do it. Alabama couldn't do it. You know, I think at this level, you have to have some sort of intangibles. I mean, we look at Russell Wilson. He has been in terrible situations. Deshaun Watson literally had to drive a bus or ride in a bus across the country to play Jacksonville because his ribs are too injured because he has the worst offensive line in the league. Yeah. And I think that Deshaun Watson's ability to keep his team in this throughout, I mean, some of those Texans problems, there's coaching problems. The fact that they were able to recover from 0-3 to be in a probably a favorite in a wild card game.
Worst offensive line in the playoffs easily.
I mean, they were actively harming him. I mean, it was offensive how bad that offensive line was. And it was threatening his career. The fact that he was able to turn it around and is probably going to win a playoff game this weekend is unbelievable, and it speaks to everything he's done, not only at Houston, but at Clemson and at Gainesville High School in Georgia.
You know, it's interesting. I said coming into the season, I thought Darnold, Rosen, and Baker could win now. I think Darnold's the greatest pure talent, but I knew the Jets had nothing. I said Josh Allen and Lamar, they're not ready to play. So when people say, Colin, you're shocked by Baker, I say, no. He's accurate. I never said a bust. I wouldn't draft him. I don't want to be tied to that stuff for 10 years. Lamar's shocking to me. Lamar Jackson is shocking. Harbaugh deserves respect. So I went and watched Lamar Jackson live. I said, I got to see this thing. What blew me away was his total control of the game. He's playing with a Hall of Famer, probably Phillip Rivers, against a good defense. I am shocked by what I'm seeing. Now I said, very draftable. I would have taken him second, third round. I can't believe he's this good. What do you make of Lamar Jackson?
I make that the Chargers have a problem on their hands, and here's why. They're built to stop modern NFL offenses. They're built to stop the Chiefs. They're built to stop the Saints. They've got Derwin James who can do anything back there. They've got 2 pass rushers in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram who can get up the field. They have Casey Hayward, a very good cornerback. Well, Lamar Jackson is not the modern NFL. You know, no one has run at the quarterback position like him since 1972.
Who's that?
Bobby Douglas, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you start to look at it and you say, this is a guy who's solving the modern NFL in Lamar Jackson by being completely antithetical to the modern NFL. He's just running the ball. Defenses are getting smaller. Linebackers are becoming more irrelevant to the game. And if you can actually line up and run the ball all the time, you have the definition of a matchup problem.
Yeah. One more thing before we get to the games. There's a lot of openings and there's a lot of coaches. I said this yesterday. The city of New York, between the Giants and Jets, has had 5 coaches in 5 years. Yeah. And there's this current narrative that Mike McCarthy's too simplistic. He hasn't evolved. And my argument is he organized, prepared? Does he have a good work ethic? Yes, yes, yes. That peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, 50 years before me, 50 years after, will taste delicious. The things that he's good at matter. I'm not saying he's got the best cheekbones. He's not hip. He's not lit. He's not cool. But his teams were organized, prepared, massive discipline. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers came out of college, Kevin. He had a weird throwing motion. He was a junior college kid. He was raw and ad-libber. Isn't that Sam Darnold? Like, to me, Mike McCarthy and the Jets feels like, of all the coaching searches, an absolute perfect fit. Am I nuts on that?
So I want to address something. You asked when we looked at the map of hate about who hates which teams. You said, who could possibly hate the Jets?
Right.
The answer is Jets fans. They hate the Jets. And the reason is because they've made mistake after mistake. The last time there were 8 openings was 2013. Do not look at that list. It is not safe for work. It is bad. And Andy Reid is the only coach who's still there. And when you look at that list, he was the safest coach. We knew what we were getting.
Good
The one
point.
thing you don't want to do is develop a coach alongside a quarterback. We have no idea if Zach Taylor, the quarterback's coach from the LA Rams, can call plays. We have no idea. All we know is he knows Sean McVay. He can text Sean McVay every once in a while. Congratulations, Zach Taylor. But I just don't know why you would want to take a risk when you know Mike McCarthy can win games. And that's what I understand, that you want the higher ceiling, but Lincoln Riley's not coming. Pat Fitzgerald's not coming. David Shaw's not coming. When you're dealing with the NFL pool right now, Mike McCarthy is very high on my list.
All right, let's go to the 4 games. Let's start with the Colts-Texans. I have no strong feeling. Generally, if teams meet again after a team beat them, the better team does win. You feel like there's revenge, but generally teams win for a reason. They have better personnel or they're better teams. I don't like the idea that the Texans have the worst offensive line remaining in the NFL. With very little conviction, I would take the Colts and have no confidence. Where would you lean?
I'm leaning towards the Texans, and here's why. We talk all the time about the problems a great quarterback can solve. You know who else solves great problems? Aside from having Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins is a problem solver. If you throw the ball to a covered DeAndre Hopkins, he becomes uncovered. He's one of the few guys. He's almost like Shaq a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you can just throw the ball in his direction and something good is going to happen.
He didn't have a drop this year.
No.
That's unheard of.
No, and nearly 200 targets. It is unbelievable. And it's one of those things where I think that's going to be, I think that home field is...
It's real.
It's very real.
It's real in the playoffs. It matters.
Nobody who's played in the Super Bowl has won a road game since 2012.
Well, slow down, timeout. Hold on. Say it again.
Nobody who's played in the Super Bowl has played in a road game since 2012 in the playoffs. Joe Flacco and Colin Kaepernick did it on the same day in 2012, in the 2012 season.
Isn't that amazing? That's an amazing stat, right?
How have we just not noticed that?
You're just throwing haymakers. Good Lord. So you like Houston?
I like Houston because of the little edges. I think that both these teams, I think they tied in points, 58 each in their matchups. I love Andrew Luck. I love Frank Reich. I think that, the defense on Indianapolis, they have the, Albert Breer said it on the show, they have the capability to go forward and be a dynasty because they have a lot of really good young players.
But they're a better story than a team right now. I mean, let's be honest.
I agree. And I just think Houston is ready to win right now. J.J. Watt, he is somehow, J.J. Watt, one of the most famous players in the NFL, is not getting the credit he deserves after a 15-sack season. So I think the offensive line, if they had an offensive line that was any good, they wouldn't be playing this weekend.
Right.
But everything else favors the Houston Texans.
All right. Almost talked me out of my pick. Here's the only game I feel strongly about. Again, I feel the story of Seattle's rebuilding success year is better than the team. I would take Dallas by a touchdown over Seattle. I think they have better personnel. I think Amari's a real difference maker. Russell Wilson's probably my favorite quarterback next to Brady and Luck of all time. But I think Seattle's story is awesome. I don't think the personnel, I think it's Bobby Wagner and a bunch of kids. I take Dallas here.
So these teams are basically mirror images except the quarterback and the coach. Both of those things favor Seattle.
Strongly.
And so when I start to look at it, there's a couple of matchup things. What I'm fascinated with, Bobby Wagner has missed less than 1% of his tackles at the NFL level in his career. That is unheard of. So now you have Ezekiel Elliott, who is number 1 in the NFL in yards after contact. That's going to be a matchup, man. That is going to be we talk so much about the modern NFL, about Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and all these things that are just bringing the game forward. Bobby Wagner against Zeke Elliott's going to bring it back about 30 years. That is going to be an old school matchup that I'm really looking forward to. And so I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one. I saw a stat the other day. Next gen stats can sort of quantify what passes shouldn't be completed.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson has the best completion percentage above expectation in the entire NFL, which means he's creating hard throws and he's completing them.
Tyler Lockett's become a star. He was a slot returner, punt returner. Nobody projected him to be anything like this.
But is it that Tyler Lockett is otherworldly good, or is it that Russell Wilson can create Tyler Lockett into a star?
Chris Collinsworth made a great point. I was watching a football game recently, and Collinsworth said, Russell throws the best deep ball in the league. He teardrops it. And Tyler Lockett's one of those guys that runs nice fades and nice deeps, and he is a perfect receiver for Russell Wilson. So you like Seattle?
I love Patrick Mahomes, but when you can play Patrick Mahomes and out deep ball him, you're doing a pretty good job.
All right, let's go to, so we disagree on that. Chargers, Ravens. I go to, I think the Chargers have the best personnel in the league. I think playing Lamar twice in a month is the way to beat him, and I don't think it's easy. I would lean L.A. Chargers. I
go back to the matchup problem. First of all, I don't know why Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator for Baltimore, is not getting more head coach love, because obviously the number one thing you want right now is an offensive guru, but I'd rather have a defensive guru than a bad offensive guru.
That's a good point.
So I don't know why that hasn't happened. What they've been able to do on defense has been incredible. Marlon Humphrey is a legitimate star.
Yeah.
There are pieces everywhere that I'm hugely impressed with. So I think that the talent level and the personnel is not as, the disparity is not as big as we think.
That's fair.
And then I truly think you made the comparison to Tebow with Lamar Jackson.
Well, he's better than Tebow.
He's much better than Tebow, but I'm saying it's sort of a unorthodox matchup, especially in the playoffs, especially early in his career.
They beat Steelers.
Yep.
Tebow beat the Steelers.
Yep. On a weird play.
Yep.
Broken coverage.
Yep.
I mean, it is a really hard. I'm sure there's a nightmare going on right now in the practice facility game planning for Lamar Jackson.
So we disagreed on everything. Okay.
Yes.
So
far, yes.
Okay. So I like the Eagles over the Bears. I say it with no conviction. Listen, Wentz is better long term. Okay. There's a lot of 401k is better long term than Bitcoin, but the timing was right for Bitcoin, and some people made a lot of money on Bitcoin. You used to work at the Wall Street Journal. You know all about stocks. I'm sure of it. I'm going to take Philadelphia here. I like their defensive line. I like their personnel. I like their big game experience. They're not dynamic at wide receiver, but they have playmakers at wide receiver. And Nick Foles is strangely accurate, incredibly coachable. The staff clearly connects with him. I'm going to go Philly.
I'm an analytical person. I believe in data and all that stuff, but there's some sort of intangible stuff that I believe in. And one of the things that I've always believed in, I remember a Seahawks player telling me this a couple of years ago, when you start to play in really low-scoring games, you get comfortable doing it because you're always one play away from disaster. The Bears just played a game that was 14-9 against the San Francisco 49ers, but they were comfortable the entire game because they knew they were never going to give up a play. I think this will be a 17-14 low-scoring game.
So do I.
It's going to come down to one play. I think the Bears' defense is really comfortable in that environment. And I will favor the Bears in that situation. I love Nick Foles, and I think the lesson of Nick Foles should teach a lot of teams how to build an offense, because this is 2 years in a row now where Doug Peterson has had to build an offense on the fly in December and January, and he's done it really well by stripping everything down except what Nick Foles likes. It's a really good coaching lesson, but I'm going to favor the Bears just because of the talent disparity. If this were a fully healthy Eagles team, if the secondary was still intact, I think it's a very different situation, but I also think, by the way, they wouldn't be the 6th seed. But I'm going to go with the Bears. Again, like you, no confidence.
So we disagreed on everything.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's the story of my life. Kevin Clark writes for The Ringer, formerly of the Wall Street Journal. He's just fantastic. You can follow him on social media, where he's equally brilliant. I love having you on the show. You're a busy guy. Say hi to Bill, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, I'm going to be nice with Russell.